Hi, my name is Nikko. I'm the executive chef at Lux Appliance Studio. I'm so excited to have you here today. We're cooking with food life. Today we're working with the Bosch Flex Induction Cooktop 36-inch. And we're also using the Bosch Steam Convection Oven. Primarily we're using the steam mode today. We have a beautiful cut of salmon fillet, and then we also have some white rice that we're going to be cooking. It's not known to a lot of people, but steam ovens are versatile in terms of what you can cook in them. Obviously here we have two different products. One is a seafood and one is a grain. I'm going to get these into the steam oven, allow them to start cooking, and then we're going to start building the base for what I'm creating today. And what we are creating today is a Thai salmon curry. So give me a sec, we will be back. Okay, so to start this curry, we're essentially going to be looking at adding some vegetable oil into the pan, or what we have here is a pot. Induction, for those of you who don't know, maybe a little brief introduction would be good. Induction is essentially using ferromagnetic energy. There are things called inductors. They're like little drivers that work underneath the actual surface. On the Flex Induction, you'll actually see the different areas that you can cook on. The two rectangles that we have on these sides are actually the Flex Induction, and then this middle guy right here is the big driver that we're using for either smaller pots or bigger pots when we're doing stocks. The benefit to having these rectangles here, which actually divide into two separate zones or can be controlled as one, hence the word flex, is that you can essentially place something that's a rectangle like a teppanyaki, or you could place two different pots and you could operate them at two different temperatures. We're working with the middle inductor primarily because we're using a round pot. For our purposes today, we want to get this pot onto a lower temperature. Let's start with about a 6. And to start this process, we're actually going to start with some ginger. Now, I've already peeled this ginger here. I'll use that to cut, but I actually kind of wanted to show you guys a little trick in terms of how you can peel ginger. A lot of people use a peeler, some people use a knife to cut all the way around. I actually prefer to use a spoon, and the reason why is because the spoons actually work within the groove of the ginger. Basically maximizes the end result in terms of how much product you'll have left over, which is a little bit nicer for people who are a little bit more conscious about how much they're wasting and how much they're keeping. Now, in terms of cuts, I'm probably looking for about 1/8 of an inch thick to start. And then from there, we're gonna rotate it. We're gonna cut it into matchsticks, probably another 1/8 of an inch. And then from there, we're gonna go into a little bit of a small dice. Just like that. Okay, so we got the ginger cut up, ready to go. Next ingredient, garlic, big staple, tons of flavor. We're gonna slice our garlic nice and thin to start, and then we're gonna turn this into a mince, okay? Okay, and this is a very rough chop. I don't mind that at all. Curries are kind of supposed to be like this mashed up idea of a whole bunch of really jazzy, nice flavors. So if you want to get really technical and beautiful with your looks, in terms of cuts, you can do that. But here we're just doing something relatively simple, something that everybody can kind of do at home. Okay, next thing up is our shallot. I'm using shallot over onion because shallot typically has a little bit more of a pungent flavor. So going horizontal, I'm going to cut or make my slits. That's gonna give me my first size. The next step is to go vertical in terms of your cuts, and that's gonna allow you to see what kind of size you're working with. The last step is to actually cut it, and that's gonna give you your small dice. Okay, just like that. And straight from here, I'm actually gonna go directly into the pan. And I always say this to everybody, if you don't hear any sizzling, you're not cooking, so make sure that your pans are nice and hot. Next up, we have some peppers. I have red and orange. You could do green. You could do all red if you wanted to. I want to incorporate some different colors. It's going to really help boost the look of the dish. And I got a little trick for those at home to dissect peppers a little bit quicker than the regular. You want to start by taking off the top. And then we're just going to slice a little bit off the bottom. Again, save that because that's part of the pepper. We're going to make a little slit. I don't know if anybody saw that, but we're going to make a little slit down the side of the pepper here. We're gonna place our pepper flat on the board. We're gonna put our knife into where that slit was made, and we're basically just gonna cut and roll the pepper as we go. Okay, next up, we're gonna turn what we just dissected from the peppers out. We're gonna turn these into matchsticks using that layer of pepper that we took off the core. Okay, so now that we have them in matchsticks, we're gonna extend into the next process, which is essentially turning this into a small dice. And this is gonna be relative to probably about the ginger size, or even the shallots. Keeping everything the same size in terms of your cuts is really gonna help keep the cooking time the exact same, which is what we're looking for as well. You can throw that directly into the pot when you're ready. Okay, so now we have the peppers, we have the shallots, we have the garlic, we have the ginger, all in this pot right now. Gonna allow that to heat up and cook. We got two more things. So right here is a red Thai chili paste. Essentially, this is like a really nice way to start your base on anything like a curry, and the reason being is because we are essentially trying to add depth of flavor. It's all about adding flavor. Everything's about adding flavor. So I got about a tablespoon and a half. Okay, so we have the red chili paste in there. We're gonna allow that to cook out for probably about a minute or so. In the meantime, I have some time. We're gonna cut some cherry tomatoes. I'm gonna break up some lemongrass. Lemongrass is a really great addition to anything that you're doing Thai. Now, lemongrass is typically not edible unless you cook it over a long period of time. So you really wanna work with it in bigger bunches so it's easier for you to actually take it at the end. We're not gonna keep this in for the entire process. We're just gonna use it until we're ready to plate, and then once we plate, we wanna take them out so that nobody chews on any lemongrass. So we'll throw that in there, and the heat will start to work with the natural oils in the lemongrass, allow them to release their flavor. We've come to the point now where it's nice. It's got its toast on, so we're actually gonna add in our liquid base now, which is roughly about equal parts of coconut milk and chicken stock. Chicken stock giving it a really nice base, coconut milk giving it that creamy, velvety flavor. So now that we have our liquid in there, we actually wanna bring the temperature up of the cooktop. There's a really cool feature on the Flex induction and actually across most of our induction cooktops, which is a mode called Speed Boost. And Speed Boost is really interesting because essentially it's taking surrounding energy from other drivers that are within the surface. It's almost robbing the energy from those inductors and then giving a massive boost in energy to the inductor that's active right now. We're talking about boiling a liter of water in about 90 seconds. You'll probably tell through one of the cameras relatively soon that this will actually come up to a boil really quickly. So while that's getting up to a boil, I'm actually gonna come back over here and finish off my cherry tomatoes. I like tomatoes in this dish because they add a nice little bit of acidity and it actually keeps within the color of the dish as well. As you can hear, induction bringing that up to a boil very quickly. So now what I wanna do is reduce my temperatures because we're back up to a boil, which is okay. We wanna bring this back down to something closer to a simmer. And that's a little bit better right there. Okay, so you can tell really quickly with the performance on induction cooktops, they're super fast in terms of transition from temperature to temperature. Super reliable, right? That's it. Okay, we'll put these back in the bowl. When we're ready, we can just serve it directly from that. Okay, so we got the curry going on a really nice simmer right now. We got the tomatoes already cut, chopped up, and ready to go. The last thing I want to add is the purple kale. It's kind of my little addition to this dish. It's a little hearty of a green, so I like to add something a little bit nice and hearty to this dish. I put the leaves together, and then essentially I'm just rolling forward. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut this into nice slices. I'm going to take the tomatoes that I chopped up earlier, and we're going to add that to the dish now. Let those cook away a little bit. And while that starts to cook down the tomatoes, I'm actually going to go check on the steam oven and see if our rice and salmon is done. As you can see, rice is completely finished. It's really nice. You run your finger through it, you're not seeing any excess water on the base. Really nice. After it comes out of the steam oven, I actually like to leave it for about 5 minutes, and that kind of allows the steam to completely come off the rice. It will stop the cooking process, which is what I want. And then the salmon, you can also tell, is completely ready to go. I like to make sure sometimes that the salmon's a little bit undercooked when it comes out of the steam oven. And the reason being is because we're adding the salmon that's been partially cooked back into a pot that's gonna continue the cooking process. So we don't wanna overcook the salmon. by cooking it or part cooking it too much in the steam oven, we kind of want to allow the sauce here to continue the cooking process. But this is perfectly fine. So what we're going to do is just push, and you can tell I'm just like literally pushing the flesh and it comes right off. We're going to add all that into the pot. Okay, just like that. Okay, incorporate that salmon. Really nice. Flavors and smells are really beautiful right now. I have some snap peas over here that I actually just cut into a really small julienne. You can add those in there now. So we're getting close to the finished product. And the last thing that we had is that kale that we cut up earlier. You can add that in now. Okay, we'll give it another stir. Okay, and we'll let that cook for about another minute. In the meantime, I'm actually gonna season it, because if you haven't noticed, I haven't seasoned this at all. I always like to season anything that kind of has more of a soup base or a sauce base at the end. So we can always adjust flavoring from the end going forward. When you add too much salt maybe at the beginning of your cooking process, by the time that you reduce down the liquid, it concentrates the salt. Sometimes can completely change the flavor of your dish. So you just want to be very careful. I'm happy where this is at. I think the consistency is nice. It's not too thick, but it's not too thin, which is perfect. You kind of want it in the between to give you a really nice balance. So we're ready to plate. I'm gonna bring my dish in here. Using that rice that we had in the steam oven earlier, we're gonna start with the base, which is the rice. The reason why I wanna start with the rice as our base is when you put the sauce over top the grain is actually gonna absorb that flavor, and that's gonna make the entire flavor robust throughout the entire dish. If you kinda add the rice on top, it's not gonna have that time to soak up any of the flavor that you want, okay? So just in the base of the dish, the best part, grab a ladle, then go in, scoop up, place it. That's probably a perfect portion for one person. Finish this dish off. You could do peanuts if you wanted to. I actually got some pralined almonds, which are basically sugar-coated and baked almonds. It's gonna add a nice sweetness to this dish. Give it a little bit of a crunch as well. I also just think it looks really nice. It's really rustic in terms of a plating style. You can add as much as you want. And that essentially is your final dish for curry. Enjoy.